the best thing that happened, is that everyone upscaled on the technology. And the best moment I can remember is those small faces on the screen and everybody saying, yay, that's my teacher and that's my friend. Because that was something very new for the children. They knew that they come to class, they meet their friends. But even on screen, after almost a month, it was a great moment for the kids to, meet each other. As for the teachers, yes, it wasn't an easy task. It was very, very scary for the teachers, how they are going to connect. They were all not trained in, the skills of technology in use. Yes, everyone used technology, but not as a full time. And we all thought it would last for about 3 months or 4 months, and then we'll get to normalcy. Now it's almost 2 years. We have to do our assessment. We have to connect with the students. Parent teachers is on that. All the festivals that we had, face to face is all on online now. So I think in many ways there are some positives to it. One is that the teachers suddenly realized that doing your B.Ed and becoming a teacher was not the last learning that they did. And there's a lot to learn, and such moments where the opportunity to scale up. The second is that we also realize that parents will be part of the learning journey of all students, which is a fantastic thing, and I'm sure it's going to carry on like that. And the third was that we could reach out to any child. Bangalore being a tech city, there were many parents who lost their jobs and they had to move on to their villages or little towns to work from home on a very small budget. And we could reach out to those kids. So that was all the positive sides of the pandemic. And I think in that one academic year that we had, I think we did a good job. And I think in many ways, the parents were our warriors, if I would say, our co-warriors who helped us tide through that. Yes, we were all scared in the beginning, we are going to be judged and how are we going to use the different technology? But I think it came off well, and the children have been kind, the parents have been kind, and we as teachers have learned a lot.
Post the COVID era as well, because it would bring education to a lot of other children who are unable to go to schools, for various reasons, for, children who are handicapped and other, challenges that they face. But online, to continue online after the pandemic also, it has to be provisioned for and regularized as a mode of education to be provided. As of now, there is no provision for online education in elementary schools.
First of all, happy Teachers' Day to everyone. All the teachers who are watching, all the teachers who are teaching, and who have really been heroes through this long pandemic, 18 months now. It's been a very difficult time for our teachers. They struggled. They were thrown in the deep end. It was easy for the government to say that now the schools will all go online, and nobody expected it to be so long. They weren't used to it. They had no idea. Even in the best schools, with all the devices, they didn't know what to do. They really didn't know what to do. And along with that, added to that, all their own personal insecurities and fears about the pandemic, about their loved ones, their families, and themselves. This we're talking about private schools, high-end private schools. I'm thinking of government school teachers. I'm thinking of teachers who teach in low-end private schools, where the condition is much worse because they really don't have the devices, and it is not something that is the common currency of their lives to be teaching online. So what happened when it all started? I know from our we have a staff of over 400 in various programs. That we spent a lot of time, first of all, doing some fear management. We needed to bring the fear levels down, the tension levels down, the insecurity levels down. And after that, we didn't jump straight into training them on online education, but we started looking at what people needed, what were their human needs. And even teachers, what they first did was they tried to connect with their students. And I'm talking about teachers who were teaching students on the wrong side of the digital divide. How do you get connected? How do you find their numbers? You started with 10, went on to 20, got them to get us more, and so it went on and so on and so forth. And then, with children from very poor communities, low-income families, that if there was a device, there was one device, there were 7 users, the father took it to work, and then in the evening, maybe they got it. And sometimes it had internet, and many times it did not. So here were these teachers struggling with themselves, with their own lives, first of all, struggling with their own insecurities, and then really striving to keep their students connected, to build a line on which to go on to, because there weren't these lines ready-made and available. Thinking creatively on their feet, in their sleep, all the time. So let me just make phone calls. Let me just send WhatsApp messages. Make short videos, 30 seconds.
Alpana, Malik, 2 years down the line, what Dr. Sahani has described is the beginning of the pandemic and how everyone was grappling, etc. 2 years down the line, have things improved significantly, or is the whole process sort of in limbo, waiting for in-person school to begin?
Tamanna, for the question. I do resonate with a lot of points that Dr. Sani also shared in terms of digital access, teacher constraints and training. I would say 2 years now, we are seeing a lot of creativity and solutions come up. I think some of our teachers have figured out how to balance online teaching, some parts of offline teaching. Some of our teachers are making physical worksheets, going to the child's home and distributing it and then correcting papers. So I would say some improvements have happened, but I would say that's for a very small minority of teachers who have been able to break that barrier, right? At this point, we are seeing that teaching and learning is a immensely social function. Children learn when they have in-person connection. Students learn best when they can see the teacher, when they spend time with the teacher. And we are seeing that that's not happening, especially for many of our younger kids who need that social element, that care and love from teachers. I think some academic needs are being met, but I would say right now the need is, as you said, how do we reopen some elements of in-person school, some elements of in-person gatherings so that teachers can meet them in small groups. I would say currently the other challenges are learning loss has widened actually. So some children who had access to a device and were being taught very well have picked up, have managed to learn their grade level content, but many of our children didn't have access.
And Saurabh, Taneja, from the teacher's perspective, because today is Teachers' Day and we want to focus on what the teachers are going through. Of course, you need the device, you need the know-how, you need to get the children on devices, but also things like teachers having to pick up how to present an online class. Teachers who are perhaps a little older and not as tech savvy. Do you think that bridge has been covered so far in about 2 years of pandemic, or those who are perhaps not as comfortable with online teaching and with devices and with apps are feeling themselves left behind?
Thank you so much, Tamanna, for that thoughtful question. I would say that the response is fairly mixed. I think if you notice across potentially the high-income private schools, and my mother-in-law is the principal of one of the very prestigious schools in St. Mary's in Pune. She's about 65, but she has been amazing at being able to pick up, all the very tangible skills of facilitating online learning because she had the right kind of professional development opportunity. That is not the case with several teachers from low-income private schools, or for that matter, government schools at all. I mean, when you put people in these mass training programs where you have 400 people joining in a single Zoom session, you can imagine what they would take away. I mean, at Akanksha, even though we have very driven educators and teachers, it was an uphill battle, and you had to really strategize what kind of in-person, what kind of ongoing professional development support they will require to really build up the skills. And it had to be sort of, organized phase-wise. So to answer your question, Tamanna, I would say that it's fairly mixed. I don't think we should assume that our teachers are now ready to pivot entirely and go back to embracing digital once the in-person learning happens. And I do think that, every school system in the country needs to embrace the struggle that will come with it,